Good morning. Okay, so this week you have to take a quiz on Act 2. So, because you're taking a quiz, I wanted to go over the answers for your summary and analysis. So, okay, the prologue, there were two questions. What makes it difficult for Romeo and Juliet to meet? The hatred between the families makes it difficult for them to meet. And what gives Romeo and Juliet the power to determine to elude obstacles in their way? Their love for each other. Okay, here is Act 2, Scene 1, and Act 2, Scene 1? I think this is actually Act 2, Scene 2, and I've missed a scene. Yep. Okay, so this is Act 2, Scene 2. Where does Romeo go after the ball is over, and why? Well, he escapes into the Capulets' yard by jumping over a large fence. What do Mercutio and Benvolio believe is the reason for Romeo eluding them? He's so sad over Rosaline, and he cannot get over it. What does Romeo compare Juliet to when she appears at her balcony? The sun that is getting rid of the envious moon. And why does he do this? Because he's enamored by her beauty. What does Juliet say she would do if Romeo says he loves her? She would renounce her name, meaning she would pretend she wasn't even a Capulet. This is a huge deal since family lineage is very important in these times. These people come from very rich families, so to get rid of your family would be a huge deal. What's Romeo's response to this? He's very excited by it, okay? And so he says, hello, yes, let's do that. And she's startled because she had no idea he was in the courtyard listening to her speak. Why is Juliet worried about Romeo being in her garden? Because if he's captured there, he will be killed. He is, after all, a Montague. The Capulets will just go ahead and kill him. How did Romeo find Juliet, and what will protect Romeo from any enemies? He found her with the power of her love. It's probably the cheesiest thing I've ever read in a story, and that will be also the thing that protects him from any enemy, her love. Juliet expresses worry about Romeo's commitment. What is she worried about? She's not sure how genuine he is. It's all come on so fast and so soon that she believes it's possible that he's not being genuine, okay? She is also worried that he will think her love for him is naive and untrue, or too easy to get. And so she says she's worried about those things. Romeo begins to swear to reassure Juliet, but she stops him. Why? Again, because she doesn't want to rush things. Sorry. Okay. And how will Juliet test Romeo's love the next day? I'm looking for the answer. Juliet goes and tells Romeo that she will send her nurse to him the next day to set a time for them to meet and to get married. Okay, so if that's how she plans on testing him. If he's really true, he will marry her tomorrow. So he goes off to make those things possible. Okay, this is Act 2, Scene 3. I know it says Scene 2, but clearly I numbered wrong. In the early morning, okay, so what is Friar Lawrence gathering into his basket at the start of the scene? This is really kind of significant. He is gathering various weeds, herbs, and flowers. It shows that he's more than just a friar. He's more like an apothecary as well, which is somebody who knows a lot about plants and how to use them medicinally for medicine. How well does Friar Lawrence know Romeo? Extremely well. Clearly, Romeo has been over to Friar Lawrence's house quite a few times because Friar Lawrence is talking about Romeo's love for Rosaline. He's talking about how he's been mopey and moody. So he's clearly been Romeo's confidant, or the person he has relied on during those hard times. And what does Friar Lawrence fear Romeo may have done the night before? He fears that he might have had sex with Rosaline because he says he looks extremely tired and can tell he has not been to sleep, but Romeo is happy. So he thinks he might have had sex with her. When Romeo explains his reason for visiting the friar this morning, what is Friar Lawrence's response? He's shocked at the sudden shift from Rosaline to Juliet, and he comments on the fickleness of young love, meaning it's not very true, because if you can fall in love with Rosaline and then overnight fall out of love and into love with another woman, that's pretty unreliable love, wouldn't you say? What reason does the friar give for Rosaline not loving Romeo back? She could tell that he did read by rote and could not spell, meaning that his love wasn't true, it wasn't pure. It was really just based on physical appearance and not on anything else. And why does the friar then agree to marry Romeo and Juliet if he believes that their love might not be real? He does it because he's hoping to bury the parents' strife. He's hoping that their fighting will end. Okay, so here is Act 2, Scene 4. Why does Mercutio and Benvolio think Romeo did not return last night, that he was with Rosaline? Okay, so they have the same belief that Friar Lawrence has. Who has sent a letter to Romeo challenging to a duel? Tybalt has, and he did this because he saw him at the Capulets party and knew he shouldn't have been there. Mercutio wonders if Romeo is man enough to defeat Tybalt. How does Mercutio describe Tybalt? He describes him, where is it? Okay, he describes him as a master swordsman, perfectly and proper, composed in style. According to Mercutio, however, Tybalt is also very vain and affected by fashion monger. So he is both an excellent swordsman, but he is also very, very vain, meaning like full of himself, arrogant. Okay. Why does Mercutio call Romeo weak? Because of his love for Rosaline and how he could not overcome that love. He thinks that that is a very weak thing. Mercutio mocks Romeo's love by pretending to be him and say that he thinks Romeo would say to Rosaline. Look at what he says. He begins ridiculing and claiming that Romeo has been weak by love. A way of mocking him, he talks about Rosaline. So Mercutio takes the part of Romeo and compares Rosaline to all these most famous, beautiful antiquities. And Rosaline is far superior. This should be very reminiscent of the scene before. In the scene before, Romeo talks about how beautiful Juliet is and how she's more beautiful than the sun, as beautiful as the sun that got rid of the, sorry for the laughing, that got rid of the envious moon. And again, obviously he's done this before because Mercutio says that he has acted this way with Rosaline. Yeah.
Oh no!
Ian, say hi to my students.
Hi, students.
Hi, mommy students. Okay, hold on.